Perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
What is going on, everybody? The Philadelphia 76ers pull off in the fourth quarter to take down the Sacramento Kings by a final score of 119-111. The Sixers now move to 18-7 on the season and remain atop the Eastern Conference. And by the way, are now 14-0 with their entire starting lineup playing. What is going on, everybody? RB here. Welcome back to Philly Take with RB. You know what to do. Go ahead and smash that like button for me. Hit that subscribe if you're new, and hit that little notification bell so you're always notified whenever I upload or go live. Also, if you have not yet, go ahead and check us out on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave me a follow, a subscribe, a rating, and a review. You guys have been showing a lot of support, and we will be reading more reviews on our next episode coming within the next few days. I know that I usually do the play-by-plays for the Sixers. This is the first one we missed all season, but the game was late at night and we're on a West Coast trip, so last night and also on Thursday night we will not be doing the play-by-plays. They're just a little bit too late here on the East Coast, but still a lot to talk about, right? Because the Philadelphia 76ers made it their annual casual heart attack. The Sixers heart attack going up against a young, hungry Kings team with a lot of young studs, a lot of talent that really isn't put together yet, but they found a way to make this a game. This was one of those games, back and forth, a run here, a run by this team, momentum flips, and it's going down to the wire, and the Sixers end up pulling off late in the fourth. But there was really a lot that led up to it. The main thing that stood out to me this game is that our MVP Joel Embiid, it felt almost like his worst game of the season. It felt like Joel Embiid had an off game this game. And do you know what his stat line read? 25 points, 17 rebounds, 6 assists, a season high 6 assists for the big man, 2 steals and 2 blocks. And oh, by the way, 13 for 14 from the line, hitting free throws in crunch time when we needed it, and hitting a couple baskets here and there. It felt like Joel Embiid was off for most of this game, and it really goes to show, number one, that this team obviously has learned how to win this year. You know, we've been a second half team, we've been a fourth quarter kind of team, but we know how to pull off, whether it's against the best team, whether against the worst team, we know how to pull off when it matters most. And in a game where our big man, our centerpiece, our focal point of the offense, our MVP, didn't even have his best performance, this team found a way to pull it out. Now, the Sixers started off this game on an absolute tear. I mean, Joel Embiid, jabbing his way through Rashawn Holmes, a triple jab step on Hassan Whiteside. Talk about a bum. Hassan Whiteside came in the game, and I forgot he was on the Kings. Embiid's going, having his way. Ben Simmons is off to a quick 9. By the way, we'll talk about Ben Simmons because he kind of lost it again, even though he regained it at some points. Furkan came off the bench in the first with 8 in this game. It's like everybody was on a tear. Tobias Harris took some time to find himself. Seth Curry, talk about the hot Curry, brother. I mean, finally, in the last 4 or 5 games, we're like, where is Seth Curry? Is he okay? Has he recovered? Tonight, he looked like himself. But the Sixers go out and put up 42 in the first. It looks like everything's rolling. And then what happens? The Sixers get complacent like they usually do when they take a big lead, and they take their foot off, and they're letting their De'Aaron Fox. Let me not take away credit from De'Aaron Fox. The kid is a stud. His 4th year in the league. I loved him out of the draft, top 10 pick. And it's taken him some time to develop, but he's put on weight. He's very athletic. The way he's able to change speeds, it's very special and fun to watch. He was averaging 23 on the season, and he had 34 tonight. De'Aaron Fox was special. Tyrese Halliburton, if you remember on draft night, I was thinking, is there a possibility we could trade up for him? He was special. And even Buddy Hield, who's shooting a career low 37% from deep, he was special against us. And we know, we were all in his Instagram comments over the offseason. So let me not take away credit. Those boys are special. They have a nice young core there, and they know what they're doing going in the future. Maybe because they're the Sacramento Kings. But our defense was playing lackadaisical in the second quarter. We let let them go on a 13-2 run to start. Couple bad fouls, couple bad turnovers, and we're, again, this pick and roll defense, it's the same old story, and I'm getting worried because it's like every game we allow these dominant ball handlers, these guards, to come around screens, and whether it's Embiid or Dwight, they usually don't come up at all. They just stay back, and the guy guarding the ball handler gets stuck in between. I need to see that fixed. It's weird because usually I do see it fixed later on in the fourth quarter, but it's like early in the game it doesn't get fixed. But anyway, we took our foot off. We were letting the Kings come back. We were letting them do their thing. They outscored us in the second quarter. The only bright spot of that quarter really was that Joel Embiid was forcing fouls on Rashawn Holmes, getting to the rack, doing what he could. I tweeted out in the first quarter about Ben Simmons because, like I said, he went off for 9 points right away. I tweeted out and said he was being aggressive, and this version of Ben Simmons is what we need for this team to be successful. And then it disappeared for about a quarter and a half. But yeah, the Sixers went throughout the second quarter, even going into the third quarter. They were lazy. I didn't like how Joel Embiid only had like 6 or 7 shot attempts up until almost halfway through the third quarter. That cannot happen. And we're being outscored. Our transition defense, it seemed like this young, hungry Kings team was just playing all over the place. They were just fast. They were like those little pests that were just everywhere on defense. And before we could even think about it, even when we got to the basket and even, put it in a rack, it seemed like they were down the other end of the court that much faster. The Sixers came out sloppy, a lot of turnovers early in the third. And it almost seemed at one point going down into the third quarter. By the way, the refs were all on our side in the first half. Like, they were giving Embiid the star treatment. They were giving us the fouls. And then in the third quarter, it seems like at halftime, Adam Silver called him and said, "Yo, you're doing way too much right now, especially when you're in Sacramento." They completely flipped it in the third. The fouls were absolutely garbage. Ben Simmons had back-to-back offensive fouls. Dwight Howard got called for anything. And Embiid with an offensive foul. It was like, come on, man. Like, I understand they favored us in the first, but they completely flipped in the second. But yeah, the Sixers got sloppy, and going down late into the third, it felt like this was a game where we almost couldn't even get it back because the Kings were starting to edge off. They were starting to get that lead. I think they were up by like 7 or 8 points, and it was like, come on, we got to get a basket here. We got to maintain. And we go to the fourth. It's a back and forth game, back and forth. But what happened? In the fourth quarter, Joel Embiid went off because he had a bloody knee. I don't even know what happened. But Tobias Harris, that man was silent all game. And what did he do? He took over 22 points total. I think he had 10 or more in the fourth quarter. 22 and 10 for Tobias Harris. He was very quiet all game, and then he stepped up. Tobias Harris took over. It was the Tobias Harris show in the fourth quarter. He's the type of guy that I want to see be able to take the ball, call for the ball, and come out and do his thing. And that's exactly what he did in the fourth, targeting his matchups and being quick and being decisive. He was doing it early on in the game. He just couldn't hit his shots. And the Kings were all over the place playing great defense. But Tobias Harris started to heat up. He took over this game. I mean, bucket after bucket. Him and Embiid came back. Late in the third, they went out and Doc brought in all the reserves. And I'm like, all right, well, we got to get someone else up in here, because I do like when Doc Rivers brings in Tobias Harris with the second unit. I'm a big fan of that. He tried it early on in the game and it worked. But with about 9 or 10 minutes left, Embiid and Tobias come back in. Embiid comes back from the locker room. He's fine. Had to replace his shorts or whatever happened. And Tobias was being aggressive. He was getting his shot, doing his thing. And also another guy I can't forget, Shake Milton. The Kings went cold, and Shake and Tobias took over. Shake with that little mid-range floater. It is beautiful. It works every time. Shake is the perfect guy for Doc Rivers to bring off the bench on this team. Shake Milton finished with 11 points off the bench, 5 for 11 from the field, and he was just getting clutch buckets when we needed it. Shake is tough. By the way, he has stepped up so much on the defensive side. It goes underrated, unnoticed, but Shake Milton is a stud on the defensive side of the ball too. Now, I think there was about 5 minutes left when Shake Milton Simmons stepped on the ankle of Harrison Barnes. By the way, another overpaid guy. But he stepped on his ankle and went out. So I'm hoping that Shake Milton's all right. Let's hope for his recovery. Hope everything's all right. But Shake goes out and Tobias Harris just continues and continues. Ben Simmons comes back in. He missed a few layups and I'm like, what is going on with Ben Simmons? But it didn't even matter because the MVP, even though it felt like he was having an off night, he came back. There was one play where Seth Curry, by the way, we didn't even mention Seth Curry. Guys, absolute stud. He gave us 22 tonight, 7 for 13 from the field, 4 for 6 from deep. Like I said, this was the resurrection night, and I hope we can build on it going forward. But Seth Curry was a major factor in this game, but he really kind of got taken out of it in the third and fourth quarter because I think he had like 19 in the first half. And Seth Curry in the fourth quarter, we needed a huge bucket. The Kings were kind of escalating. They were playing good defense. They were getting on their high horse. And Seth Curry missed a deep three. And what did Joel Embiid do? The guy is an MVP because he impacts the game in other ways. Embiid fights and he fights. There was one where Embiid was fighting for like 3 layups, went to the line. He just kept on being a dog, and that's what I love from Embiid. But on that Seth Curry miss, Embiid tips it out as far as he can. Seth runs and gets it, fresh 14, back to Embiid, posting from the elbow, turnaround fade, bang. I mean, it's unbelievable what a 7-foot man like Joel Embiid is able to do on the court. It's absolutely crazy. So Joel Embiid started to pick up the slack, had a clutch bucket off the tip. We got the rebound, and then what happened? We kind of just closed it out. We played great defense on the last few possessions. Ben Simmons on the defensive side stood up. Matisse Thybulle, I like how Doc opted to go with Matisse Thybulle, even though the guy didn't give you a lick of offense tonight. Matisse Thybulle on the defensive end. I like how Doc put Matisse on De'Aaron Fox late in the game and kind of neutralized him a little bit. Obviously, De'Aaron Fox is special. Like I said, Halliburton and Buddy Hield, they were letting it fly. But Matisse Thybulle was able to at least neglect De'Aaron Fox a little bit and get on him. And, we made a few key stops. And Joel Embiid got to the rack. First, Ben Simmons got to the rack because Luke Walton opted to go with the hack of Simmons. What, are you scared? You scared of Ben? You scared of Joel Embiid shooting free throws? You scared of Tobias shooting free throws? Let's put Ben to the line. Now, to be fair, he did go 2 for 6 from the line, and, he's got to step that up. And speaking a little bit on Ben, again, I don't understand how he goes off for 9 points in the beginning of the game, and sure, he's getting guys open. 9 assists. He had 7 rebounds, but it's just I don't understand why he stops attacking fully. The way I saw him in the first few minutes of the game was great. But anyway, Ben stepped up when he needed to on defense, and he went to the line and he made 1 out of 2, and I'm like, come on, Ben. Come on, Ben. But yeah, we made a big stop. He helped make that big stop, and then Joel Embiid went to the line for 2 more, and it was pretty much over. It's just your classic Sixers heart attack game. It's it felt like we were almost inching away where we couldn't. It felt like we were losing our grasp on this game, and then we took over in the fourth quarter like we seem to do. Like I said, this is a second half team, a fourth quarter team, and this is just another game on the schedule. It's not, it's not a benchmark type of game, but the Kings have been playing well and they're hungry. And like I said, they have a nice young core. Marvin Bagley. I didn't even know Marvin Bagley could shoot threes. I knew he was a nice perennial big man who was trying to develop into that potential that they drafted him for as a top pick. But I didn't know he could shoot threes. Now, if Marvin Bagley can shoot threes, that gives me hope that Ben Simmons can shoot threes, to be honest. Honestly, but anyway, like I said, you get 25 out of Embiid. He's our leading scorer, and it felt like he had an off night, which is it's unreal, the impact that Joel Embiid has in so many different facets of the game. And I thought it was a good win for the Sixers to pull off the first one on a road trip. Tobias gives you his 22 a night. Seth Curry looked unstoppable in the first half. I mean, pulling up off the bounce, coming around screens, and things were fluid. Things were mobile. We were moving the offense. I want to see us keep that pace up from the first and second quarter. I know basketball is a game of runs, but we were playing well. Danny Green did absolutely nothing. This was, I'm just going to start saying there's those you love Danny Green nights, and then there's you hate him Danny Green nights. This was a you hate him Danny Green night because he didn't do anything. I mean, Danny Green trying to come up off the bounce is ugly, man. It's ugly. Like, he just needs to sit in the corner and wait for his shots, and that's it. Shake Milton, like I said, 11 off the bench. Korkmaz finished with 13 off the bench. At one point, looked like a solid rotational piece. He's inconsistent, but when Korkmaz is on, I feel like this guy can be our second guy off the bench in the playoffs. It's crazy how he makes me feel. Dwight Howard had 9 rebounds off the bench, which I really liked, and 8 points. He had a couple nice buckets, a couple slams. He was, jawing with the refs. It was pretty funny. There's still some things where I just laugh at Dwight Howard, playing keep it up with the ball, misses a wide open layup. It's like, what are you doing, Dwight? A couple bad fouls that they always give Dwight Howard. I still think we're going to need a backup center. There was one play where Dwight Howard got called for offensive interference and Doc didn't challenge it. I'm like, what the heck? Challenge. I mean, it was clear as day. But hey, at the end of the day, Sixers got done what they had to against the Kings. I mentioned their nice young core. I didn't even mention the has-beens. I mean, I'm looking at this team. I'm like, Rashawn Holmes, starting center. I used to like Rashawn Holmes. The difference between Holmes then and now is that when he was with the Sixers, yeah, he still had that feisty attitude. The difference was he didn't have a lick of basketball skill. So it's nice to see him at least develop into something. Glenn Robinson III is on this team. I'm like, is that, I recognize the face. I'm like, is that GR3 on this team? He came in and hit a couple buckets. But yeah, overall, a nice win on the road. The Sixers were able to maintain their composure, and the Stars stepped up when they needed to and got the job done. The Sixers shot 45% from 3 in this game and took more than 23s less than the Sacramento Kings. And the one category that stands out to me is the rebounding. The Sixers out-rebounded the Kings by 20. By 20, we were all over the boards. Ben Simmons with the putback layups. Dwight Howard snagging boards. Joel Embiid, like I said, had 17 boards. It's unreal what the man is able to do. No matter what, we used to always have these Sixers heart attacks. It's like we can never put a team away easy, right? We couldn't go back to back after the Brooklyn Nets and blow out another team, right? But it's like I'm starting to have this confidence where in the fourth quarter, it doesn't matter because our MVP is going to go in there. The supporting cast is going to go in there and get the job done and do what is needed. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Sixers get a win. We're back in a couple days on the road again late at night against the Portland Trailblazers. Time to get our revenge game on them. I'm sure their guys will be playing, so maybe we'll play harder this time. But hey, you guys let me know all your thoughts down below. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next one, man. Peace.
Perfect.